you're
Yes.
holding that, that's okay, is it specifically for reflux?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it is for reflux. And if you think about the normal position our baby would be in, because we were made to breastfeed babies, right? That's what we were made for. So if you think about that baby being here, it's going to be on incline, but it's not going to be in a towards supine position. So, it's kind of like nature moves best, you know what I mean? So, but yes, so you definitely want to make sure that baby is as upright as possible. And when we're talking about little infants, they don't have head control. So, it's a matter of really supporting them well and just keeping them upright. But it's really important to, babies, after they're done eating, little infants, they sleep. So you can't just sit down and hold them. You can to some degree, but when they go to sleep, that's where you want to look at something for positioning. And some people just will prop things under the mattress, the crib mattress, to put it on the incline. But the baby can, once it's a little bit mobile, it's going to slide, it's going to move around, it's not going to stay in that position. That's where something like that's handy. Also, the bottle, the nipple on the bottle, you might look at changing that. So this kind of stuff is where you might have to get a little more education. You know what I mean? You've got to have some experience, and you need to go to some continuing education courses because, what do we know about bottle nipples? I mean, I've worked with babies with eating issues and things like that, but right now, I couldn't tell you what bottle nipples are out there on the market, you know what I mean? But the key to look for these babies is you want a slower flowing nipple so that they're not getting a ton of food all at once. So for the baby with reflux, you'd want to regulate the flow. So that is the type of nipple you look for the bottle. Something that's going to be more just a slower flow but continuous flow. So it just might have a smaller hole at the tip of it. And then you want to let them eat little bits at a time. So same thing with older people that have reflux. Eat smaller meals so you're not getting super full, your stomach's not full, the less likely you'll have an issue with reflux. Education is key here. Alright, so for older children, diet is huge. So for our older kids, positioning is still important, but diet is huge. So no acid, producing foods that are high in acid content. So literally, this has been a little while ago. This is probably about 10 years ago. I sat in a meeting. I used to be on a child find team where kids would, they had issues and they were in the school district. They would come and get evaluated. And this one kid, he was a little bit older, but he was having some significant issues with feeding. That's not why he was there, but this came up in the interview. And the mom's like, I don't know, he just won't eat. He's very picky. And any questions I asked her didn't make sense. It didn't sound like sensory, didn't sound like oral motor problems. And so I said, she said after he ate a little bit, he just would quit and refused to eat anymore. So I asked her if she ever had him checked for reflux, and they had not. So, it's something that just for some reason it doesn't, click with people that could be an issue like that. But I would think that the doctors are picking more up on it nowadays. So here's just a few medications that are used over the counter. There are more out there. And then there's surgical interventions where they actually fix the sphincter. They actually can close off that valve so that the stomach acid doesn't come up, or they can tighten the valve. So there are some procedures that can be done. Some people, like some kids I've known, had such severe issues that they had this, that actually the valve was totally closed off. So they had to be tube fed. Nothing was going to go down, nothing was going to come up. So that might be a tube feeding issue. Okay, so reflux, that could be an issue. That we're really not addressing that today, but it is a feeding issue for sure. Muscle weakness, we are addressing today. So this is another issue that kids can have, and this is pretty common. Some things that you might see with muscle weakness of the mouth and the facial muscles. is that the kids can't maintain a seal with their lips. So this could be an infant who can't close their mouth around the bottle. An older kid, you're gonna see issues with mouth closure around a cup, spoon, or whatever straw. The little ones won't have an efficient suck, and they might get worn out and tired, so they might feed for just a couple seconds, and then they're not gonna suck anymore because their muscles are weak, and it requires a lot of energy and force for them to be able to get the fluid and the liquid out of the bottle. For older kids and the ones, toddlers and older, that are eating solid foods, you might find kids that refuse to eat chewy foods. So if it's a muscle weakness issue, you know what's going to happen? They're going to want the food because they like the flavor. It's not a sensory issue. So they're going to put the food in their mouth and they're going to chew it for just a minute or so, and then they're probably going to pull it back out of their mouth because they can't swallow it, right? It's too big. And they're tired of chewing it, so they rather just not eat chewy foods. So they're going to refuse meats and stuff. Or else, if there's a cognitive issue, or maybe just the child's impulsive, they're going to chew it for a second or two, and then they're going to swallow this big chunk of food, then it's a choking hazard, right? But that's some things that we might see with kids that have weakness. Another thing is a child that's very drooly, because their mouth is hanging open. So if there's some muscle weakness, you often find children with this open mouth posture where they're just their jaw is depressed and they're just, the fluid's coming out. So that open mouth posture. So we see this, weakness often goes with low muscle tone. So kind of like a soft muscle. So we see kids that you can just kind of look at them and see they look soft in the face, their mouth's kind of hanging open, they might drool, they might not chew good. These are all some signs of muscle weakness. So look what we do for that. This is really important for feeding. The kids have to get their nutrition, all right? So don't ever go, we're going to strengthen their mouth. We're going to strengthen the muscles that close the jaw and that chew. So let's offer them chewy foods for every meal. You know what I mean? We're just going to strengthen while we eat. Don't do that. So you want to modify foods so they can get their nutrition. Give them foods that don't require a lot of energy. Let them eat. And then when it's snack time or oral motor exercise time, that's when you introduce some chewy foods. Do some mouth exercises or whatever. Don't try to do that together because the kids need to eat. I mean, don't get me wrong, it depends on the severity. So if it's not that severe, the muscle weakness, on their plate, they have 3 very easily chewed or soft foods, and then 1 chewy food. That's fine. They can alternate, but you really need to think about that. So think about that. Think about, changing up the nipples on the bottles again. Babies that don't have a good seal with their lips, sometimes changing out the bottle nipple will help. Some of them are more rounded, some of them are more collapsed and flat. So that could be a difference. Stacey, can you let her in when she comes back, or you can just leave? You don't mind. So accommodate, think about what the child's problem is, and then move from there. Lips, jaw, tongue strengthening, address the problem. It's really hard with infants. They're not going to do what you want them to do. So you might be doing some facilitation of muscle tone with the infants. And we're going to talk more about facilitation. Well, for the mouth, you guys learned facilitation. I see you out in the hallway tapping on muscles and stuff. Yeah? So tapping is a facilitation method of facilitation. And that is to activate muscles, right? So you can do the same thing with the muscles that chew food. That's a little tricky when you go up there to the temporalis. The cheeks. You can do the same sort of stuff there. It's facilitation.
Is that when also not just tapping, but you could use vibration too?
Oh yes, for sure. And we'll be doing that today too. So So if they're weak, they have this low muscle tone, you want to facilitate. So little babies, they're not going to do exercises, so you might just have to go with some facilitation and work on it like that. But the older the child, the easier it is to deal with something like that because you can actually have them do activities that strengthen. So I'm going to show you some tools and oral motor exercises, and you guys will practice them when we're in our lab and we'll actually work on some of these things. So this is not on your lab worksheet. You might want to just write it down somewhere to go to the oral motor exercises. I'll just put this like towards the back of the room. And just go through some of these, you and your partner, and go through some of these exercises. You don't have to do them all. There's a really good website called Super Duper. And Super Duper makes all kinds of speech therapy, occupational therapy products, and a lot of them have to do with oral motor, and a lot of it's very speech oriented. But they have a section where you can print off these sheets for free, and they're really simple things that can be used for parents and for home programs and stuff. There's also oral motor things, exercises in those boxes, which I'll look through and pull out some that might be appropriate. So go through this. So that's one way you can strengthen. You can design a strengthening program for a child by using something that's really resistive. All right, so this is an example. These are P's and Q's. This is an example of something that you can use for a jaw strengthening exercise. You just make up a little exercise routine. You want them to chew on this 5 times on each side, 3 times a day, okay? So I'm gonna let you guys can actually try this out. I do have, for sanitary reasons, this stuff that we're doing today, just slip it in a bag and don't chew through the plastic. So, I said this before, I always like to try things out before I give it to a client to actually do. So how do you know, if you don't try this yourself and feel the resistance level, how many times do you have to bite on it to get worn out, to fatigue that muscle? So it's really important to figure that out before you hand a 6-year-old an exercise routine saying, can you chew this 10 times, 3 times a day? What's that really going to feel like for them?
I think I got the piece. Do you mind if I take
Sure.
I'm videoing if you mind. You got it?
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to go back and forth between this PowerPoint and this. So P's and Q's, this is only one thing that this can be used for. So you're going to find that these tools can be used for multiple purposes. Okay? But this is an example of how you might do like a jaw strengthening program, or some exercises that don't require any materials. It's simply like just opening your mouth and holding it, raising your tongue up, trying to touch your nose with your tongue and stuff like that. So you can do exercises like that as well. There's other programs out there for exercising the mouth, but like you want to get some additional training and stuff before you. I'm not going to introduce those because they're really complex. All right, so strengthening. What else could you do for strengthening? So we got something that you chew on, got exercises. What if their lips were like weak, they didn't get good lip seal, good lip closure? What kind of activities could you give a kid? Bubbles and yeah, okay, so you could do all kinds of different things. So blowing bubbles is good. This straw is going to require a little bit more sucking pressure, strength, because the fluid's going to go, it's kind of narrow, versus a normal straw. This is going to be easier, these typical straws, right? Because this is going to go through all these little loops and designs. What if you took some applesauce and you had them suck applesauce for this? You know what I mean? I would try that first, by the way. I haven't tried that. But you can, thicker like a milkshake. When you get a milkshake with a straw, like it's really, so, think about things like that kids would like. Anything that's in this box, most stuff, what about like whistles and little instruments and things like that? They're going to push their lips around it. So there's activities like that. I won't tell you too much because you have to come up with something somewhere. But those kind of things are good for strengthening, right? All right,